Okay, so we've all seen this, and this, and this. And yeah, there are a lot. And we laugh about them now, but throughout history, these examples went far away from what a male-driven society really thought. With the diverse narratives of humanity that have and continue to shape society's core beliefs and values, it is through literature that individuals are able to criticize ingrained prejudices and hence inspire a societal reflection that drives a shift, challenging the dominant paradigms of one's context. This is reflected to a significant extent through the dominant cultural narrative of patriarchal authority, whereby Shakespeare's tragic play Othello serves a counter-narrative reflecting on the forced submission of women. Furthermore, Bonnie Garmus reshapes this narrative by crafting a new feminist one throughout her historical fiction novel Lessons in Chemistry, where she amplifies the female voice to empowerment to directly challenge the rigidity of gender norms. So, within Othello, Shakespeare provides a counter-narrative underlining the female subjugation imposed by a male-centric society that deprives women of any form of dignity or agency, articulately prompting the audience to reflect on and criticize the dominant cultural male narrative within the wider Jacobean society. Written in 1603 in a period characterized by a shift towards Renaissance humanistic values, Shakespeare highlights the strong androcratic worldviews that force women to take on a subordinate role imposed by male societal expectations, as they are continually underappreciated and grossly objectified throughout the entire 5 acts of the play. Not only is whore used 13 times to describe women, it is Iago who wishes to sleep with Desdemona in his plot of revenge against Othello, to be even with him, wife for wife. With the dicope of wife, Shakespeare characterizes male-female relationships as transactional between men, completely disregarding female agency and thus skillfully illustrating the ownership of women forced to fulfill the male fantasy. In retaliation of their subordinate role, Desdemona criticizes male oppression through religious allusion in We Must Think Men Are Not Gods, while Amelia uses a simile in Let Husbands Know Their Wives Have Sense Like Them, as Shakespeare equates the powers of men and women as equal and hence artfully counters the dominant patriarchal view. However, their attempts are futile as Shakespeare reinforces the androcratic Jacobean hierarchy, which deprives the power of the female voice. The deaths of Desdemona and Amelia at the hands of their own husbands act as the catastrophe of Shakespeare's Aristotelian tragedy, providing a poignant, long-lasting symbol to the audience of the overriding power of men over women and its devastating consequences. Ultimately, Shakespeare's Othello provides a counter-narrative calling for audiences to reconsider the rigid, powerless female identity shaped by the overarching dominant phallocratic narrative. More explicitly, Garmus's Lessons in Chemistry reshapes the counter-narrative of female empowerment brought about by Shakespeare by amplifying the feminist voice, encouraging readers to take on a more active role and hence upset the dominant narrative of patriarchy to an even larger extent. Published in 2022, Garmus's fictional historical novel captures the second wave of the burgeoning women's rights movement, encompassing the socio-cultural atmosphere of post-war America. Much like with Desdemona and Amelia, the audience is given insight into the pervasive misogyny endured by the protagonist Elizabeth Zott, where Garmus further cleverly subverts the traditional novel form for a multi-narrative story, positioning readers to adopt the innocent views of truth, challenging the great disparity between individual potential and artificial societal limitations stemming from a male-dominated society. Nicknamed Luscious Lizzie, Elizabeth is called to dress on TV with big hair, tight dress in a homey set, with Garmus employing visual imagery to convey the domestic, sexualized identity of a perfect woman conscribed by patriarchal standards even within the 20th century. Additionally, much like Iago, Dr. Mayer is characterized to weaponize the subjugation of women under male oppression as he responds to Elizabeth's threat of reporting his acts of sexual harassment and assault with a rhetorical question, to whom? Further exemplifying the powerlessness of women under the dominant cultural narrative of male authority. Ultimately, it's Elizabeth's TV show, Supper at 6, and its enduring motif of cooking vs chemistry that sustains Othello's counter-narrative of female empowerment against societal androcracy. But, unlike the passive reflective role that Shakespeare invites his audience to take, Garmus calls readers to a more vocal, active duty to directly oppose the rigid female identity. For ostensibly a typical cooking show, Elizabeth uses her platform to introduce scientific concepts to women, as she replaces her kitschy 1960s decor and tight dresses for scientific equipment and attire, undermining the stereotypical female domestic role. Through Supper at 6, Garmus transforms the patriarchal narrative to a feminist narrative in which the female voice is amplified and united to directly challenge the dominant perceptions of women's capabilities. As Elizabeth once closed, "Do not allow your talents to lie dormant, ladies, design your own future." Thus, the diverse counter-narratives of feminism presented within Othello and actively strengthened within Lessons in Chemistry demonstrate to a great extent the power of literature in disrupting dominant societal paradigms and ultimately calling individuals to evaluate their own core beliefs and values. Thank you.